Hi, I'm Pastor Jordan Scott, and I'm here today on this Good Friday at a local cemetery. It's a cemetery that I've come to many times over the years as I've come for the burials of family members and loved ones. And I'm thinking about how 2,000 years ago on a Good Friday there was another burial that took place in a cemetery, and that was for Jesus of Nazareth. Death can seem so final, so cold, and so empty. And oftentimes a cemetery is a place of death. It's a place of grief. It's a place of mourning. And so this strange irony took place on Good Friday 2,000 years ago, where Jesus of Nazareth, an innocent man, the divine Son of God, the author of life, was condemned to die. He was abandoned by most of his followers. One of his own disciples had betrayed him. He was condemned to die as an innocent man. He was beaten. He was nailed to the cross. And he hung there for 6 hours, being mocked and ridiculed. And as he hung there, he cried out to God, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And then he died. And the question is, well, why did Jesus do that? Why did he go through all of that? And the answer is that he did it for us. Jesus faced death and the grave for us. He was buried in a borrowed tomb on Good Friday. He went through all that for us. The Apostle Paul put it this way in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 21. God made him who knew no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. See, at the cross on Good Friday, this amazing exchange took place where Jesus took upon himself all of our sin, all of our unrighteousness, all of our guilt. And in exchange, he gave us his righteousness, his forgiveness. Jesus died on Good Friday so that we could be reconciled with God. Now, maybe in your life you are going through a Good Friday moment. Maybe you are facing death for yourself. Maybe you're mourning the loss of loved ones. Maybe you're feeling isolated and alone and abandoned. Maybe you are even feeling forsaken by God. Well, the fact that Jesus died for us on Good Friday is important for two reasons. Number one, it means that you're not alone. You're not alone. Jesus knows what you're going through. Jesus has been there, and Jesus promises to never leave us or forsake us. You're not alone. Jesus is with you. The second important truth that Jesus died for us is this. It means that we have hope. Good Fridays are bad, right? Good Fridays are hard. But we know the end of the story, and we know that Good Friday was not the last word for Jesus, and it's not going to be the last word for us either. I'm thinking about a conversation I had with a guy recently. He had a pretty close encounter with death where he had some internal bleeding and his blood pressure plummeted, and he was almost a goner. And he was telling me that now that he's doing okay again, it really put his life in perspective. And he was talking to me about, well, what happens after death? What happens? Is there anything beyond death and the grave? And he said that he wishes that there was someone that had died, and would come back to life again to tell about it. And you know what I told him? I said, well, I can think of at least one person that has happened to, and that's Jesus. And because of that, we have hope. We have hope. So yeah, we might be here on Good Friday in a cemetery, but we know that 2,000 years ago on Good Friday, we know that 3 days later, it was Easter Sunday. And the world has never been the same. And because of Jesus, we can have hope on this Good Friday.